Good morning, everyone. Hope all of you are healthy and safe. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I would request everybody to be on mute for the entire launch. We'll open the platform for a question and answer at the end of the launch. And we'll take all your questions. If there are questions during the launch, you can put it on the chat box. We'll try to answer at the end of the launch. On behalf of Legasis Partners, I welcome all of you to the launch of COVID-19 Contract Review Technological Solution, CARRAR Lite. We are pleased to have you all at the launch. Hope I'm audible to everyone. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Again, I would like to repeat that I would request everybody to be on mute and switch off your videos during the launch. Going ahead, I would like to request Jaideep Kevaramani, CEO Legasis, to share a few words on COVID-19 contract review in digital space. Over to you, Jaideep.
Thank you very much, Mehak, and a very warm welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We will spare the rhetoric on how COVID-19 has disrupted our lives. The fact is that COVID-19 has actually accelerated the digital transformation, and we are actually living the future. Amongst all of the scare out there, I hope that your loved ones and you are safe. If a few weeks back, precisely about 8-10 weeks back, if someone had asked, who is your chief digital transformation officer? Someone would have said the CTO, someone would have said the CIO, and so on. But today, I'm sure everyone is saying it's the COVID-19 situation. Commercial contracts have hardly changed over the last few decades and are an obvious candidate for disruption. And no other better time than right now to embrace the change and disrupt what goes on in the contracting space. Typically, goods and services represent about 30 to 70% of an organization's cost base, depending on what type of a business you are. If you're a FMCG company, it can go as high as 80, 90%. But the current contracting practices add a long cycle time to the procurement process. Organizations are becoming increasingly intolerant of this overhead, especially those enterprises that are working in the speed of digital. And given the situation, there is a sharp focus on how do you optimize your time, how do you optimize your cost, enhance the responsiveness to the organization. We are literally working at the speed of light, if one were to use that metaphor. What we have done at Legasis is actually created a born digital contracting model. This is actually a true blue, conceptualized, designed, and produced in the digital space. That is going to form a new way and act differently after we kind of launched it today, and you'll appreciate what we are trying to do over here. It's going to be powered by three primary principles. One, we are digitizing the legal dialogue to focus on success factors. Two, delivering dynamic and contextual contract provisions where they matter so that you identify what is relevant to your business. And third is giving you simple and complete contractual and a relationship management start point for your business. While the future lies in AI-enabled self-negotiating contracts and blockchain-powered tamper-proof contracts, which is going to hit us anytime in the future in the next couple of years, and we'll see how that future looks like. But today, we have a situation, we have a real situation today. Managing the black swan event from a contracting perspective, knowing your obligations, determining your next steps has become extremely critical. So Haas will talk more about that. But before we dive into that, I just wanted to emphasize on what we are going to do for you as the Legasis ecosystem. We brought together lawyers, we brought together technologists, we brought together industry leaders, and we also consulted with some of the leaders in the space to develop and design this. So this is not just a solution that we have come up with tackle the short term, but this has been designed and developed to manage the long term that is going to arise out of this new normal. So with that, I'm delighted to hand over the baton to Suhas to talk more about what we have in store for you. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Suhas,
thanks. Yeah, thanks a lot, JD. Thanks, everybody. I think, let me at the outset apologize for a very, very short notice with which we've started kind of this launch. I would have loved to give you more advanced intimation, but I said this is going to be a launch amongst the friends, uh, and I took that liberty because the moment we were ready and moment we thought was a good moment to actually come out and talk about it with our own friends. So I'm going to kind of run through a very, very short PowerPoint presentation. And then I think I'm going to request our colleagues from IT, predominantly Raja Singh, to actually take you through the demonstration of the solution. So I think what we're trying to do here is we're trying to look at reviewing the contracts from the point of view of COVID-19 situation. Of course, all of us have by now know very clearly that this is a crisis like the no other crisis that we have or the mankind has ever seen. There is a lot of talk about force majeure. There's a lot of talk about act of God. So if the force majeure COVID-19, which is like the epidemic declared or a global pandemic declared by WHO on March 11, 2020, were to be considered as an event that applies to everybody. Is it the question comes in everybody's mind as whether every commercial contract, whether that would get hit by this event because this event is applicable to everybody, and therefore are the days of the commercial contracts over? Are you then suspending your obligation to perform? Are you entitled to terminate? Are you entitled to restoration of advantage? So I think there are various misnomers that are around the world today. We being common law country, the force majeure is not codified in India, like most of the common law countries, or unlike the civil law countries, where force majeure is codified in law. So when we talk about international transactions, I think a very complex situation is emerging, and the impact of COVID is all across what we call as 360-degree impact. You look at the corporate laws today, they have undergone a change from the COVID perspective. Some of the changes will be temporary during the period of lockdown or during the force majeure period. Some of them could be lasting. Employment laws, I think the jury is out there with respect to whether MHA circular amounts to law or not. But I think employment laws have undergone some change, and some of those changes will probably be sustained changes even beyond COVID situation. Finance related laws, including, let's say, investment laws, have undergone a change. The manner in which people are looking at COVID-19 situation is a material event and material adverse event for that matter. So all those consequences that follow out of a MAC will continue to be looked at with very microscopic angle there. Of course, the contractual laws have undergone a change, predominantly because of frustration of contract, impossibility of performance, force majeure, and the likes. Insurance regulatory authorities have come out and have actually changed some of the rules. But I think very interestingly, the Life Insurance Council, which is the trade body of the life insurance companies, came forward and said, sorry, we're not going to recognize COVID-19 as a force majeure event, and that we will honor all those insurance contracts that we had where people have lost their lives. We will stand by their families, and we will not take umbrage against the force majeure law. Now, this kind of a trade circular or a circular issued by the Trade Council, what's its impact on whether that would amount to law, and how do we kind of today look at these situations had changed in law and 360-degree change. Of course, the insolvency and bankruptcy with asset reclassification through the policy measures by RBI, regulatory interventions by RBI, the insolvency and bankruptcy has taken a pause. The pause is of 6 months. In effect, if you look at the classification of asset, it effectively becomes a 9 months pause. And I think the talk is, has India lost on insolvency and bankruptcy the impetus that was taken prior to COVID? Uh, I think whenever we've looked at these situations, we've said it's becoming very, very difficult today. We created a resource center to capture all the directions that were coming as the COVID-19 directions. And mind you, some of these directions are orders issued by competent authorities, so to speak. There are directions, there are notifications, there are regulations, there are circulars, there are advisories, there are statements, there are instructions, there are rulings. So to that effect, COVID-19 directions broadly is what we are looking at. And when we broadly said what are these directions, of which what is the number that would apply to a business or that would apply to businesses, not all of the 983 directions would apply to all the businesses, but understanding the 983 directions today, qua a counterparty. For example, if my counterparty to the contract is in Tamil Nadu and is in Chennai, I think it's a different lockdown rules that apply to that location. So from the perspective of understanding the force majeure or act of God or whatever is the legal relief or the legal situation that you're looking at, I think it's very important to look at all these 983 COVID directions and what constitutes law under that will become very, very important. Secondly, I think these directions are undergoing a change virtually every alternate day, if I were to put it that way. Therefore, the risks as to what we are identifying as a risk or what remains as unidentified risk, it's so dynamic that it drastically changes from morning to evening. So situation is very dynamic. Now, under the law, how do you cope up with this kind of situation? It's again an issue where everybody is struggling. We're looking at, and broadly everybody is talking about force majeure. We look at force majeure. I think the definition of force majeure broadly, what all will get covered. I think epidemic and pandemic declaration of WHO. Prior to that, if CCPIT of China issued almost about 1,200 certificates of epidemic being force majeure event, does that apply, and how does that kind of impact what happened in India at that point in time, whether your raw material supply chain actually was hit by CCPIT certificate of epidemic force majeure. Again, act of God, natural calamity, governmental action, and a catch-all phrase of events which are beyond outside the control of the parties are all elements of what we understand as a contractual provision of the force majeure. But that's not the only thing. While at the force majeure stage, you have to make sure that what is the definition, what is your contractual provision. Again, is it really that can you call upon the counterparty to perform its obligation? There are various kind of legal doctrines that would apply. More importantly, your duty to mitigate the damages, to mitigate the loss due to force majeure event. It's something which will go beyond merely a statement. You will have to demonstrate with, and you will have a demonstrable proof with you before you kind of say, I have discharged my duty to mitigate. Secondly, the most important thing is how do you kind of articulate consequences? Some of them are direct, some of them are indirect. Some of the consequences will have an impact of, let's say, probably next 12 months. So it's not really prorated to the period within which you are locked down today, because lockdown is a government action, whereas pandemic is a force majeure event. How do you look at all this becomes very, very interesting aspect from the student of law perspective. And we are saying from practical perspective, we got to look at what is doctrine of frustration of contract, what is impossibility of performance. Of course, there are some cases where we've countered change in law situation, change in law due to governmental action or change in law due to global pandemic situation. There is restitution of contract there. There are other various legal principles and doctrines that will be required to be applied to given facts and circumstances before we look at what is it that you need to do. So when we looked at from a point of view of the current situation, we said, yes, there is work from home, and I think most of us are working from home. So we said it's an imperative that we come out with a digital platform to understand these issues. So obviously it so happened as to what would be the deliverable. So we said, yes, we will analyze facts and circumstances. We will analyze COVID situation for the clients, identify the issues, legal issues, and give our opinions after analyzing the facts and circumstances with whatever is the law applicable out of those 983 plus COVID directions, and almost about 70 odd or more than 70 now, the litigation cases where high courts and the Supreme Court has actually pronounced something or other on the COVID situation. So understanding those judgments also become critical. Some of them are interim, some of them are finally disposed of the matters, some of them are ad interim orders that have come, but that gives us a direction in which the courts are looking at the situation. Plus there is a host of precedents that we have created as a library, force majeure precedent, right from 1913 onwards, when ILR was the reporter and not AIR. I think we've understood the force majeure precedents and those cases at the back end. So actually, maneuvering from a good sense and good point of view, the situations to apply this knowledge with the help of information technology tools at the back end is where we created a digital solution. I wouldn't call it a platform because this doesn't qualify in true sense as a platform. We used machine learning at the back end. We have used service level architectures, service order architectures, 0.02 in various solutions that we build up now. And it's basically the knowledge quotient with experienced lawyers applying and looking at reviewing the drafts and the opinions at the back end and delivering based on this knowledge quotient through information technology efficiencies. What we're going to do is we're going to address, and it's a fixed fee kind of a scenario today. We are saying you have a specific legal query. Your general legal queries are available today as kind of free FAQs on the system once you register. Once you register, you also get to look at these 983 resources that are there at the back end, and you want to kind of look at it as your library, please feel free. We are keeping that updated on a daily basis. So the two things that once you register, you will be able to get free is one, that resource center with those COVID directions, and the general queries regarding force majeure, COVID-19, change in law and that kind of scenario. There are some FAQs that we are still building and we'll go on building those free FAQs. But you have a specific legal query that you want to ask relating to force majeure situation, relating to COVID-19, what legal relief you want or what are the directions that would apply. It's our commitment that we will address this specifically and through the digital portal in about 4 working hours time with a fixed fee of rupees 2,500 per query. Now that's basically the only legal query without really a document review. If your document is less than 10 pages and you want us to analyze the document and address your queries, I think we still would do it in about 4 hours turnaround time commitment with a fixed fee of rupees 5,000 per query. If your document is larger than 10 pages, and it could be as large as 200 pages, and you want us to review that document and address your queries, we're saying give us 8 hours turnaround time commitment, but with a fixed fee of 10,000 rupees per query, we will actually come back to you and give you that answer through the digital platform. We are also saying you want a detailed opinion based on the review of your contract. review of your documents and correspondence within about 16 hours turnaround time commitment, irrespective of the complexities. For 25,000 fee, we will revert back to you with a legal opinion. Again, another service that we are offering is we are saying you want a strategic advice. You want a advisory services, not only with respect to a black letter law legal opinion, but as a lawyer, you want our inputs in how to deal with the situation, together with review of your documents, review of your correspondence, and other material. Now, this could be material constituting email exchanges during, let's say, project execution. We are saying, fine, upload all this on the platform, give us 48 hours of turnaround time with 75,000 rupees as a fixed fee. We will come back to you with an advice, with a strategy to deal with the situation, and whether it is replying to someone else's notice that has come in, or you want to kind of look at what strategy you should deploy uh, under the circumstances with your facts. It's something that we will do within this fixed fee and a turnaround time commitment. Now, over and above this, if you want a draft of a force majeure notice or a notice that needs to go after analyzing everything, I think we are happy to look at this as an add-on service. We are also happy to, as a law firm, we are also happy to generate legal notices and issue it on your behalf if you instruct us. So these are basically the services that we are offering. Beyond this, if you're saying that there is a large bulk upload and there are a large number of contracts, you want our team from Legacy Services to come up, do the scanning, do the scanning in such a manner that you have a proper repository created with meta tags and antonyms and synonyms being culled out. You can cull out information, create a repository through the scanning services, and we will be able to give you that repository with certain information pulled out from your set of contracts. Our commitment is that we will have a standard quality built into the system through document builder as a technology being used at the back end. So there will be a quality control through an associate and an associate partner or a partner level structure that we will be deploying. The terms and use and standard job engagement term will get generated from the system through a click wrap arrangement. There is a payment gateway that's provided, which is through Razorpay currently, and you can actually pay in various manner upfront, and you know what you're paying for what kind of service. There is an automated invoice come receipt that would be generated from the platform. As I said, I think there are precedents at the back end. We're also building practical guidance notes based on these precedents and the knowledge resources that we have, which will help our lawyers to kind of make their qualitative output far better. We have a dedicated application support from Legacy Services, so there will be a chat available on the platform or on the solution all the time. As I said, as a future development, very soon we will come out with an audio file upload so that you can actually dictate into any of your device and upload that dictation as instructions to us. We're also building a video conferencing within the solution of CARRAR Lite, so that would be very soon available. So I think by and large, this is what the entire digital service or digital solution of CARRAR Lite entails today. Thank you very much for patiently listening to me. To be happy to answer any questions that you may have. I'm going to request Raja from our IT team to take you through the demo of the solution very quickly. Thank you very much once again. Over to you, Raja.
Yeah, thank you, Suhasji. A very good morning to everyone who has joined the launch today. So before I jump into the demo, I'll just quickly give a brief introduction about myself. I'm Raja Sethi. I'm the head of product development and Legasis, and today I'm going to take you through a quick demo about the CARRAR Lite solution. So this is the homepage of carrarlite.legasis.in. Once you get in, there is quite a lot of information given on the homepage itself, which talks about what is this digital solution about and about the Legasis partner. There are a few more additional information provided on the screen. If you look at it, the fee schedule, if you want to go through it, you can click here. It will give the various services that are offered, what are various services within the specific query that will be provided by the lawyers, and the turnaround time along with the fees that is associated. So various services, you can scroll down to know all the services. Along with, there are top-up options available, which is service number 6 and 7 if you want to draft an FM notice or issue the FM notice. The other information, if you want to quickly know about the tool, there is a short video which is created. You can go through it. It's around a minute video. Also, like Suhasji has mentioned, there is also a link to our free COVID-19 resource center, and you can go to that link from the CARRAR Lite solution as well. So this is the free resource center, and there are various notification and orders that you can go through it, and also the judgments. So there's a quick link over here to the free resource center. And if you have any query or FAQ that you want to view on force majeure, the link is also provided over here. It's pretty comprehensive. There is as many as 25 queries which has been answered. And we have machine learning enabled on this. So as we go along, the more queries which are submitted over here through supervised learning will be put onto the FAQ as well for your quick reference. Beyond this, there is also a help center which is created, user manual that you can go through it. It's pretty comprehensive. And if you want to contact our support, the details for the support center is also provided. And if you have any general query about the solution itself, it is provided on the platform, on the solution. There is also chat available, live chat, wherein if you have any more query which you don't find it on the page, you can take help of the chat facility which is available for your help. So that is about the homepage. This is a disclaimer from the Bar Council which will be enabled on the tool. You have to enter to get into the tool. Now, jumping into creating the query, you will have to first sign up yourself with your username, your login details, your mobile number, and your company email ID, along with the organization that you belong to. Once you register and you log in, there will be a ClickWrap solution agreement. That is a terms and condition for the usage of the solution, which will be given. And you have an option to download it or even email the terms and condition to you. You need to accept the terms and condition to go into the tool. It will take you directly to the dashboard where you can see all your query, the status of it. The same will be reminded to you through the email as well, the status of your query. If you want to create a new query, you're going to click here. Then you're going to put in your exact query. And then you've got to select the query type based on the various services that are offered. Service 1 till 7. Service 1 is answer query without the document review. Service 2 is answer with the document review. If you select this, it will provide you an option to upload your contract or agreement which you want it to be reviewed. Along with this, there are top-up options also available. If you don't just want the query to be answered with document review, but you also want to draft an FM notice or issue the FM notice, you can select one of the service. The total query fee amount will be given. 5,000 was for answered query with document review, and 25,000 is for providing a draft of FM notice. You can put in the document that you want the lawyer to review. Choose the document, upload it. You can upload multiple documents, as many that you want. And you'll have to submit this. Once you submit it, there is an job engagement term or automatically created with all the details that have been provided for the kind of service that has been availed, and the turnaround time and all the information will be put in over here. Once you accept it, it will take to the payment gateway to make the payment. There are various options available from the Razorpay payment gateway. You can either So it's a normal payment gateway wherein you can pick and choose from the various payment options available. Once you are done with the payment, the system will smartly allocate the required lawyer to your query who will be starting to work around this. And once it is done, you will get notified about the payment status along with the invoice received and the job engagement term. Right now, I'm not going ahead with the payment. So this is the query that gets created, and you can check the status of it along with the payment. If you want to do the payment later, you can do it at a later point of time. This is a job engagement term that would be created, and also the contract document that you have created. So when you go back, this is a dashboard which will be giving you the status of all the queries that you have submitted. So that's about it about the demo of the tool. Over to you, Mehak.
Thank you, Raja. We'll open the platform for a question and answer session. People can write it on the group chat. I'll unmute those people, whoever has question.
Can you hear me? This is Saili speaking from KEC.
Yes, I can hear you, Sai.
Yeah, so this is a question for Suhas. I think this is really quite an interesting thing which has been developed solution. But I wanted to understand this review which will be done at the various options that have been given. Will this be done by lawyers only, because the time span given and options given is pretty efficient? So is it a legal thing, or is it an LPO kind of a backup plan? Who will be doing the review?
Thanks a lot, Saili, for that question. I think the review would be done by lawyers at two levels. The first review will be junior associates or associates who will be doing it, and it will be supervised for a standard form quality review by a senior partner. So it's actually lawyers delivering it. It's not a LPO. It is an authorized practice of law through the digital mode of delivery. That's probably first of its kind in India. There may be some services of this nature. I'm not aware about it, but I think what we are trying to do is, you see what's happening, and I must explain this. At the back end, the legal environment and the knowledge that we need to check is today as good as a definite one, although it's complex, but it's definite. In a sense, we need to look at impossibility of performance, frustration of contract, change in law, force majeure, and all the judgments only around this chapter of law. So from that perspective, once this knowledge is available at the click of the button for a lawyer, I think the smart lawyers at Legasis Partners would be able to decipher it correctly and apply that to the given facts and circumstances. So I think we're bringing in efficiency. Yes, in Indian context, I think consistency of quality and a turnaround time commitment becomes always questionable. But we are now standing by. We have between Legasis ecosystem of about 3 companies and 1 firm, we have almost about 200 lawyers today. So if you were to do the bulk upload of various contracts, I think we would create a backend organization which will still be committed to giving you the turnaround time commitments that we have mentioned here.
Thank you, Suhas. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Saini. I would request everyone to put forward your questions if you have any. Yeah, please go ahead, GS Arora, Sudeshwar.
I think, Mehak, there is a question by Siddhishwar Rinde.
Okay.
It says, are those services provided in other countries, example, Thailand, Sri Lanka, Vietnam, and Japan? You see, what we are, Siddheshwar, thanks for asking that question. It's so long as even in the international transaction that you may have had with, let's say, between your client here or you here in India and a Japanese counterpart, so long as that transaction and the contract is governed by Indian laws, okay, we would be happy to give this service, whether the transactions took place in the course of international trade or not. We're not authorized to practice law in Thailand, Sri Lanka, Vietnam, Japan. We are talking to various foreign associate law firms and counterparts on a kind of a mutual exchange, whether we can make this kind of a platform available for them so that they are able to collaborate with us on, let's say, Japanese law related questions. But that's work in progress. We don't have it readily available here. Mr. Arora, happy if you can put question on the chat box or ask, unmute yourself and ask the question, which is fine.
Not sure.
Mr. G.S. Arora. I'm not able to hear you. You raised your hand, but if there is some problem with the audio, will you please write down the question in the chat box here?
Yes, Suhaji, I think he has put the question. So the question is whether the applicability of Section 32 of the Contract Act has been considered.
Yes, sir. In developing this solution at the back end, we have looked at Section 32 and what does it entail. Whether it is 32, 56, its consequences around 65, all of that would be taken care of. Whatever would be the applicable law, that would be taken care of. Thank you, Mr. Arora, for that question.
Yeah. And I can see that Mr. Siddheshwar Rinde also has a question. He has raised his hand. So would you like to speak the question, Siddheshwar, or you want to put it up on the chat box?
I guess that question is already answered by Suhas.
Okay. So he has another question. So any other questions? Mehak, you want to take it up?
Yeah. I would request everyone to put forward your questions. This is the right platform to clarify all the doubts or any technical queries if you have. Yeah. I guess there are no more questions. Should we move ahead? I would like to invite Mr. Yogesh Shabak, Gautam Patekar, and Kailash Lad and Apurva Sajeshnu to give the concluding remarks on the CARRAR Lite.
Yeah, hi guys. good afternoon. This is Yogesh here. I think I'm audible. Mahek, am I audible?
Yes, Yogesh, you're audible.
Yes. Good afternoon, guys, and thank you for being here on a launch of CARRAR Lite. I think it's so irony that we are now discussing on I think on a clause of a contract which has been most been neglected and as treated as most as a boilerplate. But let me tell you guys that last 40 days, the kind of law, the kind of situations that we have heard client coming to us, and we have been dealing with this kind of things are obviously encouraging that actually made us thought and made us come with this kind of a software to be dealt with. And I believe that, and there are a lot of issues that has come, and I believe that a lot of these things would be addressed by virtue of this platform. We are trying to give you a qualitative delivery within the turnaround what we have promised. And I think there would be a lot of things going forward that we can learn from all your feedbacks that can come over a period of time. And we would definitely appreciate your feedback on whatever services that we provide. If you require anything, and we are let me assure you something that we would become trying to evolve this platform on a much different lines than what it is today. But of course, that will all depend upon what feedback we get from you. I think that's it from me, and thank you for being here on this launch. I hope to, we hope that we can answer your queries and your problems that we can in coming days. Thank you.
Thank you, Yogesh. I will now request Gautam to speak a few words.
Thank you, Mac. This is Gautam Batikar. The idea behind CARRAR Lite, so to say, is more to make some sort of efficiency in deliverables in the testing times of COVID-19. The whole idea that has been coined by us with the support of Legasis Services, which is a technology arm for us, is to provide a cost-effective and timely service, keeping in mind the quality as well. The support that will be provided by the lawyers as we go along in responding to the queries in the timeline that we have portrayed is the solution that we are providing, so that any kind of contract, may it be a contract of a live-in license to a contract of, say, a complex engineering or a procurement contract, or for that matter, a construction contract which runs into multiple pages, we have tried to make it more efficient and kept the timely deliverables as the core competence of this platform. So I would request my other partners who may have something to add to this, maybe Apur. Thank you.
Thank you, Gautam. Thank you, Yogesh. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining this launch event. I think my fellow partners have sort of captured, in a sense, what this tool is going to provide. Basically, this is an attempt to step into what we think is going to be a post-COVID world. I think legal practice might undergo some amount of change in the post-COVID world, and we might have to use technology more than what we as lawyers have been using prior to March 2020. I think in all my sort of interactions with clients subsequent to this pandemic striking us and subsequent to the government imposed lockdown,
the thought of, the discussion has been around contracts and their validity and liabilities of parties in this existing scenario. This is an attempt by us to sort of try and build a process that will simplify the process of review of contracts, yet not diminish the quality at which we are sort of reviewing the contracts. As Suhas pointed out, this is still a legal area of legal practice. This is still a lawful practice, a practice that we're doing as lawyers. The attempt is only to sort of simplify it a bit, help in reducing the time lags, help in reducing the time that is spent in discussing, in sort of sharing information, and also build a cost-effective practice. We will, of course, develop this as we go along. There will be learnings for us. There will be learnings for you. When you're working with us, this is a start. Hopefully, this is a process that will, as I said, simplify this area of practice. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you for the patient hearing. Mehak, I pass it back to you.
Apurva, I request Kailash Nath to speak few words in CARRAR Lite.
Thank you, Mehak. Good morning, everyone. I think all my partners and other colleagues have spoken elaborately on everything. So I guess whatever I say will eventually be more or less on the same lines. Personally, from my perspective, I think there is a lot to be learned out of this COVID-19 pandemic. Like Suhas mentioned, and so did Gautam, that force measure was something which we used to take for granted in contracts. If you had been a law student in the recent past and read through the plethora of cases, there was always the occasional force majeure suffered by a party against the other. There was never a force majeure situation where the entire world was bogged down. So in that sense, this force majeure event and this pandemic is unique in its sense that it has crippled the whole world. And what has really happened is it has pushed everyone into a corner. So when you're pushed in a corner, the only option you have is to find a solution to come out of it. And the way to deal with it is as quickly as possible. Fortunately, at Legasis, we have always been focusing on software and IT-based solutions for legal services. And that has come to our aid. I think I can very proudly say that this tool, CARRAR Lite, the technology which we are using, like JD mentioned earlier, is at par with the best in the world. I mean, if the technology has to develop further, we are at that point of the technology where the technology which we are applying is absolutely the latest that is in usage for such services. It will keep developing further. So the usage of this tool, your queries, your Q&As, your questions will help us to develop better and help us to serve you and the community much better. So please feel free to reach out with whatever queries you have, whatever issues you may have. Suhas has explained to everyone the various facets of this solution, and Raja has also given a demo on how this has to be utilized. However, if you are still in the slightest doubt with regard to any aspect, we are here to answer any questions you have, and we are hoping to serve the community at large in the best form possible. Mehak?
Thank you, Kailash. Thank you, everyone, for your time and being a part of this launch. Thank you, everyone. If you guys have any questions, you can put it on connect@legasis.in, or you can you can put it on the chat box on the CARRAR Lite landing page. Thank you, everyone.